You're listening to Ideal Practice episode number 163. Today, my friends, we're going to take a deep dive into what it really means to build a consistent, effective, aligned brand, a brand for your practice that is true to who you are and true to how you want to show up in the world. Listen, guys, there is so much more to this than most people realize. And my guest today, Michelle Knox, by golly, this woman knows her stuff, and she is just the one to help us begin to understand it all. Whew, so good. And be sure and stick around to the end because she has an offer for you that, although it's not for everyone, there are going to be some of you out there who could really use what she's got to share. And I don't want you to miss that either. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is Wendy Pitts-Reeves, your host, and I'm really excited about the conversation you get to hear today. Today, finally, I've been kind of saving this one, y'all. Today, finally, I get to introduce to you to one of my favorite people on the planet. You get to meet Michelle Knox, who is founder of Lone Red & Co. Michelle and I have been dear friends for a long time, and as you will hear in this conversation, we are both part of the same mastermind, and we are both accountability partners, which means that we meet on a very regular basis to support and challenge each other in our own business growth. Michelle is a real treasure in the world, and I'm so grateful to have her in my life. But let me tell you, this woman knows her stuff when it comes to branding and marketing, and she has a knack for seeing what the rest of us can't see. She can help you see where the mistakes are, where the glaring gaps are, where there are ways that you are watering down your brand and you don't even know it. She has a lot to offer, and I have wanted to have her on here since the very beginning of this show. Michelle is the owner of Lone Red & Co., which is an online branding and marketing collaborative. They help entrepreneurs with decades of experience brand the mastery that they have so that they can market with confidence and earn more money and create a bigger impact and get excited again, feel inspired about what's next in their business, which, you know, if you've been at this for a while, sometimes you lose a little bit of that. Michelle can help sort of reignite that spark. In addition to Lone Red & Co.'s marketing services, Michelle herself also offers growth consulting to small businesses and nonprofits who are looking to grow their revenue and impact. She will partner with them to help them identify and fix what are often common leaks in their marketing and their sales systems so that they can scale without having to hire more staff. Now, that's huge. And often she has found that really small adjustments can make a huge difference on their ROI. So, like I said, this woman knows her stuff, and I am so excited to finally be bringing her wisdom to you. So, without further ado, let's get into the interview. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. You've already heard a little bit about my guest, who I have been wanting to bring on here for a very long time. I'm not exaggerating when I say I have sort of been saving this one. It's been like dessert that I've been wanting to tap into when I couldn't stand waiting anymore. So here we are. So you've already met Michelle. Let me bring her on board.
No pressure there. No pressure there, Wendy.
Well, Michelle, tell everybody hi.
Hello. I'm glad to be here. To be compared to dessert is quite a bit of pressure, but I'll do that.
And slightly sexist if I think about it, but I don't mean it that way. So, as our listeners have already heard, I've known you for a long, long time, and we have a long friendship, and we've been through a lot. And I have been the recipient of your wisdom so many times over the years, and I have watched as you have grown and evolved in your own business. And I know that what you have to share with everybody today is going to be richer and deeper than they're used to hearing when we talk about marketing or branding or messaging and all those things. So I've been excited, seriously. So how
Yeah,
about
me too.
yeah.
I'm
How
glad to
about
be.
you know this, where I like to start is by asking you to tell everybody where you are in the world, because that's one of my favorite things, and a little bit about who you serve and how you serve them.
Sure. I am way up in Bellingham, Washington, in the Pacific Northwest, by way of Louisville. As Wendy knows, I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for 22 years, raised our twin daughters there. Then my husband retired from his job at the city in Louisville and took another job out here right as our girls were heading off to college. So I like to tell people I did some extreme empty nesting.
For real.
Yeah. So been out here in the Pacific Northwest for 2 years now, which is hard to believe, and I absolutely love it. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous part of the country, as you know, as
Yeah.
one of my
Yeah.
visitors. Um, and I, just you mentioned business is evolving, and absolutely my
Yeah.
business has evolved like so many as we learn and grow. I come from a background of marketing, communications, and advertising. That was my career before starting my own business. Over 20 years ago, I started my own business, went out on my own. I come from the creative side, as far as graphic design and art direction. That's how I came into my own business and have grown and evolved and now do a lot more brand strategy and messaging work with clients because I have learned over the years that is number one and so much more
Yeah.
important. There was so much that my clients would come to me thinking they needed. And just from my former career and everything I knew going into it and have even continued learning,
Mhm.
it's so much more than just design for sure. So,
Mhm.
I love working with women entrepreneurs, small businesses, and nonprofits are really the core of my work.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I did wanna talk about how the fact that you have moved from the artistic side of things into this messaging, because that is I'd love to for you to talk a little bit about some of the common mistakes that you're seeing in people and a little bit like, let's
mhm,
expand on that a little bit about everybody thinks they just
sure.
need a logo. Let's start with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's probably the first thing I would say.
Mhm.
I tell the story of when I first went out on my own, people would come to me and they had a new business and they wanted a logo and a business card.
Yeah.
That's all they thought they needed was a logo and a business card. And as a new freelancer, I'm like, okay. And I was allowing them to just tell me, like, place an order, like what they
Yeah.
needed, knew they needed so much more. And the story I tell is I was in Louisville. I had designed this logo for a woman. So she had logos in the logo colors, right? But I was at a stop sign and I saw her car, her business car drove by, and she had one of those magnets,
Oh,
that you
on the
put on
side of a
the
car?
car.
Yeah. Mhm.
So here was this logo with about 6 different typefaces underneath it, like with her phone number and all this stuff. And I just it was seeing the work out in the wild. Seeing that, oh wow. Wow. She had no other, and
Yeah.
this is like early, early on. I had my own business for less than 5 years at that time.
So
And I
you
thought,
had
oh
done the logo
no.
for you did the logo, but then you saw what she did with it in this
Yes,
magnet on the side,
yes,
and that's when
yes.
you
Of course, she's not a designer. She's not the expert here. She had no style guide. You know how big
Mhm.
I am on brand style guides now, visual brand style guides. And so she didn't have what font she should be using. She didn't know she couldn't mix 6 different fonts together. And I exaggerate, it was probably more like 3. but it definitely
Look
caught
like
my
6.
attention. Yeah. So from there, I evolved from an order taker, freelance designer into probably where I was when you met me,
Mm-hmm.
where I was doing full visual brand foundations, which I still do some of. And I was making sure that I did include that brand style guide at the end, which gave them what typefaces they use, how they should use their logo, how much white space should be around their logo, all of their color palette, their hex codes. And, things have changed so much here. I used to do the PMS codes, and everything's so much online now
Mm-hmm.
that has shifted and grown too. But it was just a full package. So they had not only their primary logos, but they had their submarks, and it was what I knew they needed, and they wouldn't have known they needed that.
Can
So
I,
I
can I just
evolved into that.
can I pop in and define some of the things that you're saying, because not everyone's going to know what
Mhm.
this means, and this isn't
Sure.
what we want to focus on, but it is the foundation, and it is where everybody starts. And this was the first thing I learned from you, actually. So tell people what a style guide really is, and let's
Mhm.
slow that down just a little bit. And
Okay.
what is a hex code? What does that even mean?
Right. Yes,
Right? What
I
is a
know. Isn't
submark?
it?
I don't know what that means.
This is me swimming in my own water, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, Wendy. So let's start with a style guide. So once you design your logo, you not only have the logos, but you also have your brand colors for your business. So normally I have one or two primary colors, and then I'll select a few secondary colors that complement those primary colors, just so that you have an expanded palette
Hmm.
that you can run with, right? But a style guide shows you and tells the owner of this new visual branding how to move forward with it, right? So it will go into detail. These are your typefaces. This is how you should use them. This is your primary logo. Maybe it's the way that it's going to show up 80% of the time, but then you need a horizontal version, right? Because
Right.
think about the top of your website.
Right.
Oftentimes there's a small nav bar, and you might need a horizontal version there. Here it is in reverse. Here it is like white, right? Here it is in one color or black only.
Mhm.
And all the different variations, right? So you need a vector. If you ever heard someone ask for a vector file, which is the cleanest possible file you're
Mhm.
going to get. So a lot of times, if you're on a website and a logo isn't super crisp or it's a little fuzzy, it's probably because they're using a JPEG
Uh,
and not star
so
file,
just
which would be an EPS or an SVG file.
and y'all listen, I mean, she's throwing a bunch of letters at you, and I will tell you
Yeah.
that when I got this done, and I did all this with Michelle. This is a long, long time ago, and everything she's saying here, I did, and then she sent me, for example, what you will see that when the logo is the mark, which is often a graphic representation of some kind. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily your name. It's not your tagline. It's not the copy at all. It is literally, it's the McDonald's arches. Okay. It's just that. And when Michelle helped me figure out mine and sent it to me, she sent it in multiple files with lots of different letters at the end. .eps, dot, da, 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 da. I had no idea what any of that meant. It didn't matter. When you go to get something printed or you take something to a professional to design, they will tell you what they need. You just want to make sure you
Mhm.
have all that. That's all that matters.
And then, yes, and so then that's making sure you have all those files on hand for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the numbers, you said hex file, and there used to be lots of different versions. That's making sure that if you're using a particular kind of blue in your logo
Mhm.
or your stuff, that there's a gazillion versions of blue out there. You get that number and you always get the exact same one all the time, right?
You
That's what that
get the
matters.
exact same blue. Yes, you would see people oftentimes just like, "Oh, well, my logo, I mean, my logo has orange in it. I'm just gonna pick an orange." And then here's one of the C's, right?
Yeah.
Consistency from the
Yes.
visual side. You're a pumpkin orange and a neon orange and a light orange and a peachy color, and nothing really is actually consistent and
Perfect.
professional. So,
So
yeah.
you have three C's of
Mhm.
what you think a good brand is, and consistency is one. And why don't you introduce us to those three, and then let's dig into the consistency piece a little bit more.
Sure. So the three C's I like to talk about are clarity, um, consistency, and then commitment
Hmm.
is the final one, which can be the hardest one too. Actually, they can all be hard in
Yeah.
their own way, but clarity of message for sure, clarity of who you serve, clarity around what it is, what you do exactly, and who you
Mm.
are and how you show up. So
Hmm.
those can be really hard if anybody that has tried to write the copy for their website or even talk to somebody in a networking event and tell them exactly who they are, what they do, and what makes them different. Why should someone hire them as opposed to someone else, right?
Hmm.
Consistency, definitely consistency in visual branding. There's just a higher level of professionalism that comes across when everything is consistent, and it just makes your life so much easier
Yeah.
because you have this one toolbox to pull from, and you're not having to reinvent the wheel every time you go to design a new marketing piece, right? You know
Yeah.
what your colors are, you know the two typefaces that you're using. It just makes it a lot easier. But consistency in your messaging as well,
Mm.
consistency on who you serve. Too often, it is so easy, and, we're all guilty of this, including me, to not wanna turn anyone away, like, not turn
Mm.
somebody off, but that's exactly what you need to be doing,
Hmm.
is to stand out and stand in
Mm.
exactly who you are,
Mm.
exactly who you serve, exactly what makes you different
I
and
love that.
special, and why someone should hire you, right? So being consistent with that across the board instead of like, well, this person has come to me and they're not really an ideal client, but if I just tweak this and if I
Right.
just water down that, and that's how we end up, getting so watered down that we blend in with the masses, right? And we're
Absolutely.
not standing out anymore. So you have to be able to stand in that power and own that thing. And so once you have gotten clear on that, being consistent with it everywhere and resisting that urge to water it down so that you can be all things to everyone. So that's a big one.
So I'm just sitting here thinking about different conversations we've had over the years and what we have seen. I think the consistency is the tricky thing, but the hard part is the clarity, I think.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, so I love the stand out and stand in. Stand
Mm.
out for what you do, stand in who you are, your own power, your value, the worth that you bring to the table. I love that because I see so many of my people do not do that. And if you go look at Psych Today or whatever platform serves various industries, yoga healers, energy healers, whatever, it is not unusual at all that they all sound and look exactly the same. And you cannot tell one person from the next.
Mhm.
Because we wanna be there for everybody, we wanna be all things to all people, and, I'm not special. Anybody I mean, I might have a certification that's helpful, or I might have, some extra training that's kinda cool, which means nothing to our audience at all,
Exactly,
right? Right.
exactly, and something else I think it's that causes that, it's super easy when you're first starting out to go and look at everybody else's website that's
Mm.
doing what you do, right?
Mhm.
It's hard to come up with messaging. It's hard to get clear. So we look and we borrow and well, this is what they're doing, so I need to look like this, or this is what they're saying, so I probably
Mhm.
should say something like that. And then before you know it, all the yoga studios sound the same. All the,
Reiki practitioners, yeah.
right,
Mm.
exactly. Whatever business you're in, all
Yeah.
the CPAs,
All
anybody,
the CPAs, that's right.
and everybody has something unique and special about the way they serve. They may get to a similar result, but there's a way that they do it and something that they believe in for the why they do it that makes them stand out. It's just about really, it's hard to see it in yourself too. When we talk
Mm.
about it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle, right?
Mm, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's hiring somebody or getting someone that you, trust to be that mirror for you
yeah.
and to help draw that that out of you can be super, super helpful. And you have to be willing, it can be scary. You have to be willing to stand out and stand in that message, stand in your value, but what you believe in, because
Yeah.
often that's going
Yeah.
to be the difference maker, right? That's going to be your differentiator
Yeah.
is what do they tell you to what are you against in your industry, right?
Mm,
What do you not agree with in your
mm,
industry? And there's obviously plenty that you do agree with,
mm-hmm.
right? But what is it about what your industry is doing and what everybody else is doing that you don't really agree with? And be willing to say that out loud, you know? Be willing to say, no, the logo's not your most important part of your brand, you know? I
Yeah.
have often said, don't focus so much about the logo.
Mm,
Just do a really nice word mark with your name when you're just
yeah.
starting out. That could
Yeah.
be perfect and beautiful, and have a designer that knows what they're doing do that for you. But too often, people get hung up right there, and it's like, let's move forward. Let's just make everything professional and
Yeah, but the
yeah.
clarity, what you just said about what do you not agree with in your industry? I remember
Mhm.
this is from one of the ways that you help
Yeah.
people, right? The Core Five
Mhm.
framework. Um,
Yes.
Getting clear is not just what you stand for; it's what you stand against. It's not how you are like others and that you are competent and skilled and trained and you know what you're doing, but you are also not like others because you do things a little different. Somehow you
Mhm.
do things a little different.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a story, or do you have anybody you can think of where getting clear made such a difference in how their marketing sort of popped, or how their messaging, like how things shifted for them once they did get clear, or even for yourself, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of somebody like a specific story because I love a good story too. I could actually, because you're sitting in front of me and we did the Core Five framework, I can think about you and how when you came, you had so many offers and so much goodness and whatnot, but they were disjointed,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They didn't go together in one pathway, I should say, to
Yes,
lead
yes.
somebody into the work with you.
Mhm.
And so, there was I don't even remember, Wendy, you might remember, you had some lead magnet that you were using, and you wanted to continue using it, and as we were working on the Core 5 framework, I was like, "Well, I that doesn't," you might not even
I
remember
don't
then
even
because
remember
we
what it was.
we had
Yeah.
come up with the seven pillars, right? You had come up with those 7 pillars, and then whatever it was that was the lead magnet was completely a
That is
different
true. I don't remember what it
something.
was, but I do remember that. So, y'all,
Yes.
I haven't told you guys this. I did not say this actually, but Michelle has been one of the key influences that helped me come up with the concept of ideal practice, and with the 7 pillars of what an ideal practice is, and the IP360 scorecard, which is what she's talking about
Mhm.
now. We use the term lead magnet, but it's the tool that I offer you for free to help you understand how your practice works and where you need a little help. It's a really great sort of a self-assessment. And Michelle's coaching and guidance, both officially and unofficially, has helped me sort all that out. So that's what you're talking about. Once we got
Mhm.
clear. Oh, the other thing, I had planned to use myself as a test case, but oh
I
well,
know,
here
but
we
I
go.
bet your listeners are loving this. This is
Well,
even better.
it is funny, and it is exactly what we're talking about, because in the beginning, when I first started doing official business coaching back in 2016 or so, I kept saying, I don't want to be nailed down to one thing. I wanted to be able to serve all kinds of folks. I just worked with Michelle sitting here and shaking her head. I wanted to work with all kinds of small business owners. And so I did. I worked with fundraisers and attorneys and CPAs and artists and all kinds of folks. And there was this constant pressure to come back to what I know, which is how to run a private practice. And it wasn't just Michelle. I got lots of feedback along those lines. But this is the example of what clarity means, because once I quit fighting it and understood this is really what I know this like nobody's business. I know this really well from the inside out. That was the first step of clarity for me. And
And
then,
then
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
things kind of get easier and kind of roll into place at that point
Yes,
once
it
you
did.
got super clear? You
Yeah, and
know,
I already had a logo.
now when I hear you
Yeah.
talk about the people you serve,
Yeah.
you light up. It's always energizing
Yeah.
because you're working with the people that you love working with,
Yeah.
these strong professional women that you love to work with.
Yes.
So
And y'all, to put a fine point on this, I had had a logo for a long time. I'd already done the visual piece way before that. That isn't what does it. I mean, that does kind of tie your stuff
that's not your
together.
brand.
It's not
That
your
is not your
brand.
brand. It
It's
is
who
part
you
of
are.
your branding,
Yes.
but it isn't your brand. Your
Yes.
brand is something that you don't own. It belongs
Mhm.
in the minds of the people that hear about you. It's what they think of when they hear Wendy Pitts Reeves,
Yeah.
and they've had any sort of interaction, they've worked with you or whatever. That's your brand. That's your branding are all the different elements, your copy, your visuals, all of that stuff that you can use to help hone that brand
Yeah.
and amplify that and clarify that. So a lot of people definitely they want to start with the visuals, right? Because they
Mhm.
think if I look professional, I'm going to feel more professional. People will
Right.
think I'm professional and that'll do all the work for me.
Now
But
I
it
have a real
doesn't.
business. No, it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Which it takes me to how I started getting into more messaging and strategy. I left it off at I was doing visual brand packages and
Mhm.
had the style guide and whatever. And then still, it wasn't the magnet on the side of the car with all the different typefaces, but people weren't really doing anything with it, or their websites weren't super clear, or they were putting way too much copy on their website. They were like fire hosing people, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
not getting super clear, certainly not standing out. So that's when I came up with the Core 5 framework and started marketing that as a way in. I would honestly rather people start there and getting very clear on who they are and their message and how they want to show up in the world. That is your real foundation before you start on a website. It'll just make your website creation so much easier because you've done all that hard foundational work.
It is so
And then you
true.
have an outline to pull from
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Mhm. You're
And
right.
to keep going back to, because so often you can kind of, we all do it. A year goes by and you haven't looked at it in a while, your Core 5 framework outline and or
Do you
whatever
wanna
your brand foundation is.
do you wanna I wanna say one thing before I go here. I have often heard that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Somebody, I think, was it Seth Rogen? Maybe. I
Who
can't remember who it
Yeah.
was, said
Um,
that.
I don't know, but I always thought that kinda makes sense. But another it's your reputation, it's your energy, it's what you are known for. And
Who wrote
Seth Godin, that's
your
who you were thinking of, Seth
Godin,
Godin.
Seth
Yeah.
Godin? I think it was Joe
I don't know who
Rogan.
that was.
Good Lord. Good Lord. But Lord, no. What was it? It's the guy that wrote that book, Your Why, The Power of Why. What was
Oh,
it?
Simon Sinek.
Simonson, it
Start
might
with
have been
why.
him. Start with
Mhm.
Y. It might have been him. It was one of
Mhm.
those guys, yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a great one because it
Yeah.
really is what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. It's, that's
That's
your
true.
brand.
That is a really good book, y'all. Start with Why by Simon Sinek if you haven't read it. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. That's a very good it really does kinda get you thinking exactly where Michelle's going here. Michelle, do you wanna tell them a little bit about the Core 5 framework? I hadn't planned that, but do you wanna introduce that? Because it is sort of a way of thinking
Mm.
through how to get
Yeah.
clear about what you do and how you do it.
Sure. We won't go too much into it, but beyond that, that is where I hope most people would start
Mhm.
in their work, or if they come to me and I see that they don't have the clarity that their messaging is all over the place. That is something I am proposing more often
Okay.
is to start with that Core 5 framework. It's on my website and we can put the link to and
Okay.
it walks through the whole thing, but it's basically 5 components that essentially gives them their foundation of their messaging, their brand messaging, let's say, at the end. So they have this outline and a go-to to keep circling back to. So then you can use that to give to a copywriter or to write the copy yourself so that you always know you're staying
The same
clear
thing.
and on
Yep.
point, right? You're
Yeah.
saying the same thing, and you don't have to, again, recreate the wheel every time you go to write something. As you know, part of the Core 5 framework includes having my copywriter kind of polish it up at the end and give you that basic outline so that you can kind of copy and paste. Yeah.
It just occurred to me that your Core 5 framework is like a style guide for your message.
Mhm.
Same
Mhm.
idea.
It really is. You kinda
Yeah.
end up with that. Yes, very much so.
I have an example I'd love to share that I think folks can relate to a little bit. So, those of you who are running a private practice and you work with various clients in your practice, whatever your particular setup is, if your online profile or your website says you work with depression and anxiety, or you work with adults and kids, or whatever, that's very generic. That applies to everybody, right? One of my coaching clients that I did some serious work with, we worked together for, I don't know, year and a half, maybe two, had a beautiful website. We often think if it's pretty, that's all that matters. She had a beautiful
Mhm.
website, and she had done mostly herself, and she kind of knew what she liked to do. She had 2 or 3 different, I would call them client buckets that she liked to tap into. But over time, what began to emerge as we talked it through and as we worked together over time was that there was a theme that ran through all of these, what she thought of as different sides of her work. And the theme always came back to a sense of belonging and wanting to speak to people who did not feel like they had that sense of belonging. And in the beginning,
Mhm.
she was talking like LGBTQ community or immigrant community or people of color, whatever. But over time, where she eventually landed on, because it just spoke so much more truly to who she really was, she really wanted to work with people who were like second generation Americans. So their
Mm.
parents or grandparents had come from somewhere else. For them, this was home, but they were still carrying this context, the tension between their American identity and their family cultural heritage, and how to blend those two is very specific. And it was all
Mm.
about how.
Perfect.
Right, and I watched her struggle with this, mess with it, tweak it, write stuff, rewrite, bring it back to me, rewrite, bring it back to me, rewrite. It probably took a good year. It's like sifting through water with lots of colored stones, and you're trying to find the one that is exactly right for you. But
Mhm.
man, once she really nailed that down, yes, everything got easier. Her
And can
profiles.
you
Yeah.
see where someone would resonate, how she would stand out
Yes.
in the sea of everybody else that was doing it? And is she going to lose a bunch of people? Of course. You hope to lose a bunch of people. You
Mm,
hope to, that's going to save you time down the road and probably a lot of angst working with the wrong person, right?
right.
But there are a vast amount of second generation immigrants. So, I mean, it's not like she's not gonna have enough clients, but now they get on her website and they self-identify, "That's me. Oh my gosh, she's speaking
Yes.
my language. That's
Yes.
that's how I feel. She gets me."
She
You
gets
know? So
me. And it was that piece about not belonging. That was the thing. Like, that was the hook.
mm.
That was the thing that mattered. It's just that this is the population that she especially wanted
So
to
she
address.
brought it down even further.
Yeah.
Like, she got even more specific, and that's
Yep. And her practice
really
exploded. She reached 6
Mhm.
figures within a few
Exactly.
months
Oh,
after that.
I love that story. That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So, and you can see where when she first started getting into this, it would be scary. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to turn away so many people, or so many people aren't going to resonate with that. But
Yeah.
no, her practice exploded because the people that needed her were able to find her right away because she was willing to stand out. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And also, I just thought about this. Another piece about getting clear that's hard for people is it's a little scary. Not just in that way. This is a common thing people will say, I don't want to have a so called niche. I don't want to only work with this, whatever, because I feel guilty if I turn people away, or my practice will die because I don't have enough business. But there's another piece of this, which I'm just remembering, thinking about her in particular, which is that it requires you to trust yourself and that you can actually help these people. And part of the work that she had to do, and y'all, this is fascinating because I wasn't thinking to go here, but this is exactly the kind of thing that will come up when you take the time to get clear about what we're just talking about marketing, but it's so much more than that. It really is who you are as a business owner. But what she had to face was, am I good enough to serve these people? Do I know what I'm talking about? Not just is this healthy as a business, but can I really help these people? Well, of course she could because they were her. It
What
was
do we
her
say? Like, owning your own business is therapy work.
on
I mean,
steroids.
yes,
Yes.
yes. I mean, you are not doing the stuff that's really going to bring up, I think especially for women, I'm sure men too, some men, but I think especially for women, can I stand out?
Can I stand
Can
out?
am I really worthy of this? Am I
Mm,
good enough to serve these people? Are
mm,
they going to really get the results that I'm promising? All of these things, right?
yeah.
That swirl in our head that come down to our self-worth or not
Yeah.
wanting to stand in our power. All of that comes to the surface when you have a business. There's
Yeah.
just no way about it. So we end up hiding when we're in not getting clear
Yeah.
and wanting to serve all the people and
Yeah.
sound like everybody else because we're too fearful to really stand in our power and stand
Guys, do
out.
you hear her? Are you all listening to what Michelle is saying? Because she is nailing you here, which is what Michelle does. Having been on the receiving end of that many times, she is absolutely nailing us because I want you to hear what she said. It is easier, safer to blend in than it is to stand out. But if you want your practice to be successful, meaning you want the money, y'all, to come easily,
Mhm.
effortlessly, and for it to be
And love what you do,
and love what you
you
do.
know?
Yes,
Love it.
this is
Yeah.
part of it. So find the courage to stand out and own your awesome is what I like to say. Yeah.
Mhm.
You're so right.
Mhm.
Bland branding is easy.
Mhm.
Anybody can
Mhm.
do that.
It is. It is easy to stand,
Mm,
say what everybody else is saying. To never have to get clear
yeah.
is way more comfortable
Yeah.
than the uncomfortableness of having to really find the clarity in your messaging and your
Mm,
branding. Because as you know, it is not easy work. It takes a lot of deep work. And you mentioned sifting through to find the right stone. I think I say even on my webpage about, untangling the knots and the threads and, because we have all of this messaging coming in about
yeah.
all the tactics we should use to market our business, all the things we need to say, what we should, you shouldn't, you should, and then
Yeah.
you have all of your own thoughts. And so it's just kind of untangling all of those threads and finding the primary
Yeah.
colors there. Mhm.
So to summarize this before we move on, we're talking about getting super clear about your clients, who you serve, who you really want to take care of, who you really want to impact, and understanding everything you possibly can about them. That's the people on the other side, right? It's also getting clear about the services that you deliver, the way you deliver them, how they are different than other people, what's unique about them that's special with you. It's also, I'm thinking this is a triangle. It's also getting clear about yourself. Here's why you would want to work with me. And here's why you might not want to work with me. And both of those are
Mhm.
perfectly valid and fine and good. And I'm going to claim both of them, right?
Exactly.
So this is the first thing that you, Michelle, are recommending that people take the time before you even think about a website. Honestly, y'all, before you even think about a website, take the time to do this. And then the second piece you're talking about is the consistency. We've talked about visual consistency. And I remember when I first had my style guide from you, that Queenie, y'all know Queenie. I've had her on here. We all love Queenie, do we not? My
Mhm.
outstanding VA, who's not a VA. I always feel bad when I say that because she's so much more than that. And she started throwing in a couple of extra colors to a few handouts that I had. And it was, you and I both were like, no, 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 no. No, no,
No,
no,
we
no, no,
didn't
no.
do all this work for nothing.
We do not use yellow ever anywhere. There's no yellow in that style guide. It's very funny. But, once she got that, I have done 100 things, 1,000 things since then, and I could pull all of them up today, and it's all good. Yeah. So that's
Exactly.
yeah.
And what a benefit. Not only, I mean, a lot of people starting out are they have to do their own design work or their own pull together their own marketing materials or whatnot.
Mhm.
But the fact that you have a VA that someone can hand off a style guide
Yeah.
to a VA that could run with it, and not now Queenie's different, but not
Yep.
all VAs could do that, right? But
Right.
even, somebody that you found on Fiverr or
Mhm.
Indeed or whatever, you found
Mhm.
a designer that you can hand them your style guide, and
Yeah.
you know that
Yeah.
they're going to be consistently producing the same look and feel. Yeah,
But you're
that's a
also
big
talking
thing.
about consistency in the message, who you're speaking to, what
100%.
you're saying. Yeah.
What you're
Um,
saying, and as entrepreneurs, we love to do this. We get down the road, we get excited, we have all these ideas, we have all of this the things we wanna do, and I could do this, and I could also do this, and I could do this, you know? And so it's
yeah.
being like, "Okay, whoa, 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 let's go back to your core message," right? Let's go back to that core message, and does this align? Yes, you could. Just because you could, does that mean you should? And
Right.
let's not start getting what have I told you before? You need a hobby. You need a hobby. Let me tell you all, Wendy is the queen of
Oh, that's funny.
entrepreneurial ideas and wanting to create this and that, and I could do this, and my people need this, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's true.
And we laugh because it can sometimes feel like you're not doing enough, right?
Yeah.
So you've done the work to really nail down your offer. You know it works. If I just keep this to this
Mhm.
path,
Mhm.
it's working, right? I
Mhm.
mean, granted, we all have to like review and revise sometimes, but
Right. Right.
when you start offering this crazy other thing that has nothing to do with that
Right.
pathway,
Right.
nothing to do with your signature offer, nothing to do with your brand and who
Or
you
your
are
prime
and
audience, your
your
ideal client,
exact who
right? Your
you
core
serve,
client.
right?
Mhm.
It's really easy to get inconsistency there and then start watering and confusing. You're confusing your audience.
Yes. Yeah, you're
Mhm.
confusing your audience, and a confused mind never buys. Yeah.
Exactly. So we
Yeah.
say, get a hobby, you know.
Get a hobby. Ah,
Put that energy and the new ideas into something outside of your
so
business
funny.
once you get everything nailed down. Yeah.
How has that worked for you? How has, consistency has that always been easy for you, or is that something that you kinda had to work
Gosh,
into?
no, I'm the first one to say
Mm.
it's I'm reading my own label from inside the bottle.
Yeah,
I hired a copywriting brand strategist coach to help me
you sure did.
when I came up with my signature offer, the Core 5 framework. It's hard to do on your own. You can, but it's gonna take you a
Mhm.
lot longer,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be a lot more struggle, and it's probably not gonna be as clear, and
Mhm.
you're not gonna feel as good about it. So I hired, Juju Hook. She's brilliant. I love her. And worked with her as my coach for a year. And when I was rebranding my own website, I went from Lone Red Design because I had gotten away from just design work to Lone Red and Co
Mhm.
and redesigned my whole website and came up with that signature offer. And I hired somebody to do that as well because it is not easy work for
Yeah.
sure. So it is really helped. And then we're also, always evolving because I'm now leaning into consulting work and working with people on their marketing and sales systems, the back end, the
Mhm.
data, all of that stuff. That's a I would say partner offer that
Mhm.
that I am now offering and that I'm in the midst of clarifying that offer now. And that's, because it's new, right? And
Yeah. But it's not
yeah,
a distraction. It's not, a detour. It is an
no,
evolution of what you have been doing all along. right? It's
Exactly.
just,
So
yeah.
once we know, like someone can work with me, these are the businesses that I consult with are seven-figure businesses. They're
Mm-hmm.
probably hitting 1 million in revenue. They're
Mm-hmm.
consistently generating
Mm.
the revenue goals that they've wanted to hit. And now they're wanting to scale beyond that, right? They want that next million. And so at that point, it's looking at all of their marketing and sales systems and figuring out where the leaks are, you
Because
know,
it gets a little messy by the time they get
it
there.
gets a little messy. And
Yep.
so figuring out what they could automate, figuring out where the follow throughs aren't happening, figuring out what's missing in their messaging. And then I can circle back if they need messaging help, which some of them do, because these are a lot of these businesses are brick and mortar, they're your CPAs,
Mm-hmm.
landscape design,
Mm-hmm.
whatever they're
Mm-hmm.
doing. And they're successful because of word of mouth and the work that they do,
Mm-hmm.
but they're at capacity. And so
Yeah.
this gives them a way to generate that new revenue and scale without having to hire on more staff or
Mm-hmm.
pay a whole advertising agency.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
it is an evolution of the work I do, but because of my foundation and where I come from, I can also look and say, okay, your messaging is all over the place too.
Yep.
And I bet if you were to dial this in or get clearer about this, that would be a part of your marketing that we could really boost. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And y'all, I know as you're listening to this, like not a lot of us are running seven-figure businesses. Some are,
right.
they're out there,
Yeah.
because I've had them on this show. But the principles are the same, no matter how many zeros you have at the end of your income. Okay, the principles are the
Mhm.
same. And I have watched Michelle's business evolve over. I mean, we've known each other for like what 10 or 12 years at this point, right?
Yeah. It's been a long time.
A long, long time. And we both have been through a lot and we both have, fine tuned our own practices, our businesses over and over and over again. And it is true. Yes, things do change. You will change. Who you want to serve will change over time. I used to work with teenagers. I don't anymore. Like that kind of thing is going to happen. But at every single evolution, you still have to go through this process again of getting really clear about all the things we've been saying and then getting consistent in how you talk about it. So if you go to one networking place and you tell people that you work with divorcing parents around how to co-parent children, and then you go to a conference somewhere and you're really talking about trauma work, and then you go somewhere else and you're really talking about how you have a real heart for helping adolescent girls, what do you do exactly? I'm a little confused, right? On the other hand, when you do one thing and then maybe you add to it, maybe you expand it, but it is all in tune, it's all in alignment, then it's going to make sense. And it's just an expansion of a core principle, which is fine. I was just thinking about somebody I've had on the podcast recently, and I'm trying to think by the time this one comes out, you all will have heard her. You haven't heard her yet the day I'm recording this. So I have to get my timeline straight in my head. But you're going to be hearing from a therapist that I worked with who, originally her work was with very young children and their parents around a variety of issues. But over time, her work has expanded to where now she's working with professionals who work with parents of young children. It has expanded in like multiple ways, but it is all still about the same core problem. She's just changed, she's evolved what she's doing and how she's doing it. And her messaging has kept up with that. Her website has kept up with that. Her marketing has kept up with that. So that's what we're talking about with
But
consistent.
somewhere in there, she probably had a core brand message,
She
you
did. She
know?
worked with a branding expert who came up with a very, very full style guide. And then I was working with her on her messaging and it's
Mhm.
solid. It's really solid. So super cool.
Yep.
And you can so dilute it and get all messed up and you don't even realize you're doing it. What's a way that how could somebody check to see if they're on track for this? How could they test this? Or, because like I love the whole you can't read your own label from inside the bottle. How can they get out of themselves and just have somebody just give them enough feedback to even tell if they're making sense or not, or if they're consistent or not?
Well, I do have a brand audit that I use with
That's right, you do.
clients, right? So it's having somebody, whether you hire a professional or you have a trusted friend or another entrepreneur that look at your
Yeah,
website and
yeah,
see what their takeaway is, right? Like,
yeah,
see if they can repeat back to you who you serve
yeah.
and how you work with people and what what they got. That's the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically to go everywhere you show up online, right? Everywhere that you're going to show up in the public and just ask people, what do you think? Like, come up with some questions. Who do you think I serve?
Yes.
What do you think makes me stand out? Why would you hire me over somebody else? Some things like that.
Right. Or why
And
would you refer to me over somebody else? Y'all, this would be a
exactly.
great thing for you to do for each other. Like if you're in a group practice or if you're in a building where there are other practitioners and you each have your own website, get together for lunch and look at each other's site and give each other feedback. And don't be afraid to tell them the truth. Like that's
Right.
because
Yeah,
it's not
that's
going to help
only
them
gonna be
otherwise.
helpful, which is why sometimes it is better, to hire somebody maybe you
Yep.
don't know, because
Yep.
it can be hard. I mean, believe me, I'm a designer. So I know, you put into whether it's building your own website or whatever you've done, all that you've been up for weeks writing copy and redoing your website, and then you have
Yeah.
to ask somebody and they write it off out of hand and
Yep.
you're just like, "Oh." So it's not easy, but you have to be willing
Mhm.
to hear real genuine feedback and
Yep.
want that genuine feedback,
Yep.
and your friend or coworker or whatever has to be willing to give you genuine feedback in a
Yes.
kind way. In a
Yes.
kind way. Mhm.
Yeah.
Kind.
Otherwise, you're not going to help each other out. But you're right. This is also the benefit of hiring a professional who is only invested in seeing you succeed, right? Our friends sometimes don't want to hurt our feelings, but honest
Well,
feedback, y'all, can be real helpful.
and our friends, let me say, don't
Yeah.
always know what your core brand message
True.
should be, or, which,
Yeah.
great. They don't know, so they're going to be able to tell you what they saw,
Yeah.
but they may not understand really the audience. They may not, they're not going to maybe know necessarily good marketing either.
True.
So,
True. Fair enough.
I'll take that.
So we've talked a lot about clarity. We've talked a lot about consistency. Let's talk into the fun one now,
The
which we're so
commitment.
good at
Yes.
is commitment. What does that mean, and why do you feel like that's one of the most important things?
Well, commitment is committing to doing the work, right? Committing to whatever investment it's going to take, committing to whatever that core brand message and the work you did to get super clear, committing to continuing to show up with that message in hand and not shrink back down and start watering back down,
Mm,
committing to continuing to market, committing to show up at the networking events and
mm,
standing in that power and standing in your voice and who you are. And so the commitment to just to do the work the right way and to dive in,
mm,
because as I'll say it again, it's not always easy work for sure
mm,
to get that clarity. Um, and to remain consistent. So it's committing to your business, committing to who you are. And when you start getting watered down or life happens and you get away, it's recommitting to showing
mm-hmm,
back up for your
mm-hmm,
business. So,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, recommitting. When I think of the word commitment, I automatically think of like the actual marketing piece of it. So whatever work you do to get your message out there, do you have any recommendations for that in terms of what commitment should look like? Like what once they have this figured out, once you're super clear
Mhm.
about your visual brand and you do know who you
Mhm.
serve and your website is tight, like it's good now.
Mhm. Mhm.
What next? Where do they go with this?
Well, it depends, right? Because it's not a one size fits all marketing plan for sure. And that is, I think, where we get so overwhelmed online with you should be dancing on TikTok and you should
Mm,
be, doing lives on Facebook and but that's not necessarily true for
yeah.
whoever your audience is, the people you want to serve. Where are they? Does that matter? I mean, my consulting clients, they're not on social media. You have to really know. You have to really know your audience and where they're showing up to even really say. But then once you do dial in, whether it's your newsletter,
Mhm.
whether you're sending out regular blog posts, whether you are showing up on social media, to commit to that plan and
Yeah.
to commit to continuing to show up and educate and be able to be seen, so committing to that
Yeah.
over and
Do
over
you,
again for sure.
like, knowing this audience, this audience, these people,
Mhm.
they're often small budget, right? They're either in
Mhm.
a one
Mhm.
person shop, or they may be in a small practice with 3 or 4 people. We are not used to thinking about, quote, advertising, unquote. The word
Mhm.
marketing makes everybody break out in hives. We just want to hide in our office and people ring or send us an email and come and see us and pay us good money. That's what we want.
Yes.
But what would a reasonably healthy outreach plan, I'm going to use the word outreach, work for a
Mhm.
psychotherapist, a Reiki practitioner, a massage therapist in a small office? What's the sort of beginner level, or just like, and let's say the first 3 to 5 years of your practice,
Mhm.
what are some good sort of guidelines, I think, for where to start? Any thoughts about that?
I love the idea of reaching out to physicians and other people that may be referral partners for
Yeah.
you initially, especially if you're just starting out, and committing to sending out, whether it's 5 to 10 letters or emails a week to these people, going to meet with them in person and dropping off
Mhm.
business cards, and being able to tell them who it is would be an ideal client for
Yes.
you, and how you help them, right?
Yeah.
I also think it's important to be capturing emails for people that maybe show up on your
Mhm.
website, and being consistent about communicating with them and letting them know what you're up to. I think oftentimes, and you know this, sending out an email can jog somebody's memory like, oh, yeah, I've
Yeah.
been meaning to get back into
Yep.
therapy. I've been meaning to sign up for more massage. I've been meaning, and I haven't done that. And so a regular newsletter, even if it's just once a month, if that's all you can do initially, that's all you can do.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be, super long, super, but
Complicated.
just
Mhm.
complicated, just touching base. This is what's going on with us in our practice. This is what's going on with me in my life, just touching base, and being a real person,
Yeah.
I think could go a really long way. And then whether it's showing up in, is it Psychology Today? Is
That's the
that,
most common
yeah,
one. There are lots of
right.
them, but yeah.
Making sure that what's your bio says is clear, and, just maybe circling back to it once a year and just saying, is this still relevant? Is this still, saying what I want it to say? Make sure you've got an updated photo, stuff like that. And where your people are showing up, I don't know. I mean, are they on Facebook? Then having a very clear professional presence online, or
Yeah.
LinkedIn,
LinkedIn or
somewhere like that.
Instagram, probably.
Mhm, mhm.
It
And
will
then
depend
a
on.
website, everybody has to have some sort of website, and it doesn't have to be complicated. There are so many templates out there now. You may need somebody to help you kinda set up the back end of it,
Mhm.
but, with Wix and Squarespace and whatnot, as long as it's super clean, don't try to get overly fancy with it. If that is not your wheelhouse, just be super clear and clean on your website, and make sure it has all of the information that somebody would need to make that decision to work with you. Because that's what we do now. We're going to look
Right.
online, we're going to look for a website, and
Right.
we're going to do a lot of our selection before we even get on the phone with somebody.
So just today, just a couple hours ago, I was looking at a real estate website in Alabama that had sent me some junk mail, and I
Mm.
wanted to get off their mailing list. And so I went to their website to find their phone number to see if I could call them and say, "Please stop sending me this stuff." And their phone number was buried on their website. It was really hidden behind, in law, fascinating kind of way, like hard to read, light color, really tiny.
They don't
Like,
want people
they
calling
do
them and
not want
telling them
people.
to.
They do not. But I found it, and then I called it, and it went to some automated sales pitch that wasn't, it was just really bad. It was a terrible, terrible thing. And it just brought me back to all my pet peeves about websites. So I want to go back and summarize what you just said, because you just threw a lot of really good stuff out, and I want to make sure people heard this. Okay.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
y'all, everything that she just threw at you, we could spend hours talking about each one of these, but I want to come. So when we talk about commitment, first of all, We've spent a lot of time today talking about the importance of getting really clear up front about all the things you've already heard. I'm not going to repeat all that, but you've heard it. And then once you've got it, being consistent about how you share that out in the world. And now Michelle has just said, here are some things to do with it once you've got that figured out, but you got to do that first. You got to do that first. Once you have that done, now you're ready to commit to marketing. It's marketing, y'all. It's telling people about what you do. If you don't tell them, they're not going to find you, and they're not going to be able to help them, and they're not going to get the service that only you can provide. So, but I want to go back over what Michelle just said, because this was good, and it's important that you capture this. The first thing she said was, if you're in some kind of an allied health profession, and all of the ones that we talk about on here work, go to the doctors in your area. Find the pediatricians, the OBGYNs, the internists, the family doctors, whatever your thing is. If you're dealing with high-stress executives, go to the cardiologist, y'all. Go find the doctors in your area, figure out who they are, and start building a relationship with them. And yes, I know that's hard. There's lots of them. We could talk a lot about how you do that. But when you go to them, even if it's just an email or a phone call or a letter in the mail, an actual physical letter, if you drop by the office to meet the front staff and you want to drop off maybe a handout or two, or what I call a palm card, which is like an index size card with some stuff on it, whatever. What you drop off there is going to be super clear because you've done all this work in advance. So your messaging is going to be, even if it's just tiny on the back of a business card, right off the bat, it's going to pop and it's going to make you stand out. So from the very beginning, because you have done this advanced work, you will be so much more effective once you go do that. And then, Michelle said, you need to be capturing emails. Now, we've talked about this a little bit off and on here, but I have not hammered this very much. So this is the idea of creating something on your website that people will give you an email for. You hear us using the term lead magnet, freebies. I call them VFOs, valuable free offer. They're all kinds of different things, but it's some kind of a handout, a tip list, a check sheet, anything you can create. A quiz,
Yeah.
right? That people are like, I want that. And they give you their email in exchange for that. And now the piece that's important after that people forget, Michelle said, stay in regular contact with them. Because, and whatever that is, and the easiest one really is a newsletter. And a newsletter could be like a love note, y'all. It could be just a little, hey, everybody, just want to give you an update about what's happening around here. What's happening where you are? And I was thinking about you. And here's a little something you could use today. And oh, by the way, if you need any help, give me a call. So what you want to do is be top of mind for people. We live in a very busy, busy, busy world, a very crowded space. And yes, I know you're just one of 1,000 emails they're going to get. But when you have done the clarity work, yours are going to stand out, and yours is the one they're going to open because they love you. And when they see your email, they're going to go, oh, I've been exactly like you just said, I've been meaning to call you. I've been meaning to set. Just today, I got a text from someone who said, I know I need to get back in to see you. I'm like, yeah. So let's do that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said, make sure your online profiles match everything else. Right. So if you have a Psych Today profile or any of the other platforms that are out there, go read it. Does it match what's on your business card? What's on your website? Does it nail who you are and who you serve? And then you said the website. Yes, you have to have a website in today's world. It can be a one-pager. It can be one simple page, but it says all the right things. And that's how I got onto that thing about the real estate, because my big pet peeve is don't make me have to hunt for your phone number. That's my pet peeve. I want to find your phone number. I want to know your address so I know where you are in the world, and I want to know your email. Please make that easy so I don't have to struggle to contact you. Please make that easy.
Right. Don't make it hard. What do they say? People only have so much effort that they're going to put into anything, and our attention spans are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right?
Yes.
So when they get to your website, they want to know who you are and how you're going to help them.
Yeah.
They basically, what is in this for me? How are you going to help me? Like, make it easy. Make it easy for people. Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're not going to spend that much time there
They will not.
until you've captured their attention. And now they know they're a little more interested. So then they might read your background. They might read your about page, things like that. But
Right.
initially, you've got seconds to capture their attention. Yeah.
And you just said, "What's in it for me?" That's what you said, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
like, if more than anything, the very first thing they see when they run into you anywhere in the world, whether it is a cocktail party, a backyard barbecue, a doctor's office waiting room, a business card, your website, the very first thing people want to know is, "Do you get me?
Hmm.
You know who I am? Not do I know who you
Can
are.
you solve my pain?
Can you
Can
solve
you
my pain?"
fix the problem I have
Mhm.
today?
Mhm.
Because that's what I need. I've got a
Yes.
problem and I need it fixed. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've looked at 50 websites and I can't tell any difference from anybody. So that's good. That's really good. And y'all can see how we're talking about it fairly quickly here, but this is not an easy and light thing. It takes time. Michelle is an expert in this stuff, and I have seen her help so many people. We have a lot of friends in common, and I I have watched her work. I could point you to a lot of websites that are out there. I have also heard her correct people and guide people and coach people, myself included. I didn't know today was going to be a Tell on Wendy day, but what the heck? That's what it is. That was an evil laugh. But even with as good as I know she is, I did also watch her go through this process to redo her own website because the way she wanted to show up it was shaping up in a new way. She was bringing it to a new place. And it took about 2 years, I think, for you to get that done.
Yes,
About
because
2
what did
years.
I keep saying? I was like, "Whoa, I wish I could hire Long Red and Co. to do this." What I do
That's great. I should hire myself to do this. Yeah, that's great. I love it. Oh, thank you, Michelle. This has been fun. And
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This
yeah,
was a lot of fun.
a
We
lot.
talk about this stuff all the time, but I mean, even now, it's like new things coming up, and yeah, it's good.
It is good. Michelle and I have been talking to each other once a week for about 8 or 9 years at this point, I
Yeah,
think.
a long time, a
Yeah.
very long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want just for the heck of it before we bring this to a close, do you want to tell them the funny thing you always like to tell people about when we first started working together? About how long I was going to
Wi
work with you
Oh
as
my gosh,
accountability
yes.
partners.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So when Wendy and I first met, we met at a business mastermind, and we were going to be accountability partners. Or she was looking for a new accountability partner, and I was too. And both of us had had not such great fit accountability partners before.
Put it
So when
lightly.
Wendy came up to me and said, "I think we should try this for just a quarter. We should try this for 3 months and make sure it's going okay." And here we are 8 years later. So
Still talking.
I guess I must have passed her
You
test.
passed. That was the
It was
system that
like,
worked.
"I am cutting you loose, girl, after 3 months if you end up being a big flake."
Oh, we get a kick out of that because, I think the reason I mean, it's a funny story and it's a personal story, but it is true. I really did say, "Let's try it for 90 days and see how we feel. And if it's not a good fit, we'll move
Such
on.
a
No harm." No.
Wendy.
Yeah, that's me. That's my system.
Yeah.
That's my one wing. And it paid off because look where we are now. And as much as we laugh about it, and we can talk about everything under the sun, but we do still talk about business quite a bit. And I help Michelle, and she helps me. And I just want to share that with you guys because that's another way that you can make this process work is have somebody that you trust that the two of you guide each other, including hiring other people and bringing what you learn back to that relationship because Michelle and I both do that as well. So it's so good. It is very good and it's very funny and
Yeah.
also it worked. So there you go.
It's here we
You know,
are.
I know how to hire. I know how to pick people out. Same with Queenie, same with the people who help me with the podcast. I know how to pick people. I know how to find good people. I know how to find good people.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah. So, Michelle, thank you for this. Thank you for like lots of really, really very specific, juicy bits of wisdom today. That's really helpful. But for folks who want to, like, all right, you caught my attention. I'm kind of curious. Tell me more about this. What's the best way for them to find you?
Mhm.
How can they learn more about you?
Yeah, the best way is my website, loanred.com. Um, and I think I had told you before too, if any of your listeners are interested in doing that brand audit, that is a way for me to look at everywhere you're showing up online or anything that you are possibly handing out at networking events
Yep.
or to physicians
Yeah.
and give you feedback. It's not, it's basically going and telling everybody, I go through their website, their socials, everything, and take notes basically. And then I do a video where I walk you through all of
Mm,
my notes and tell you specifically what it is, the things that I'm seeing, and what I think could be quick fixes for you to help
yeah.
with your marketing or with your visual brain consistency. And then I do a 30-minute follow-up call as well for just to clarify if you have questions or something didn't make sense or whatnot. And normally that is $497. But for your listeners, if they use loanred.com/ideal, it's $100 off.
Oh,
So
that's good.
yeah.
All right, y'all. So, Lone Red, LONE, Red, RED, loanred.com / or / whatever way you do it.
Which one of those
Ideal.
slashes ideal?
Loanred.com / ideal, $100 off. So I want to highlight this because this is great that you're offering this, Michelle. You know what a fan I am of this. It is rare that you can find somebody who works with seven-figure businesses who's willing to sit down and show, like, really take a close look at what you've already got out there and give you very, very specific and clear feedback about what's working and what isn't and what you could do with it, and then sit on a call with you. Like, that is easily worth probably 3 or 4 times what she's asking for here. So, and this is not hyperbole. I know what I've seen her work and I know what a difference it makes. So, I really encourage you to consider that because that's an investment worth making. So, loanred.com / ideal, $100 off a brand audit, brand clarity audit. And have we mentioned the word clarity how many times today?
Yeah, right. Ooh, a lot.
That's
The
great.
big T.
That's a generous offer and a good one, and I really hope people take you up on that because they should. Well, okay. So one of the things I love to do is as we bring everything to a close, and so that you and I can go off and talk about everything else. What is there anything that I have not asked you, anything that we haven't talked about, or is there anything that you just feel called to share that would make this conversation complete?
Yeah, probably the number one thing would be to not get overwhelmed. I know marketing, I've said it before, there's so much information out there online. There's so many people. Just to simplify it,
Mm,
um, don't get yourself overwhelmed. Boil it down to the basics. Where are people already finding you? Let's put more effort into that,
yeah,
right? And then build. It doesn't all have to be done. It's never finished. It's
right,
never finished. It's always evolving, right? So it doesn't all have to be done today, or all at once, but let's start with a really good foundation. Starting with that foundation will make it so much easier and you'll waste a lot less time and money, if you get the basics get really clear and get a really solid foundation under you,
yeah,
whether it's messaging, visuals, whatever.
yeah, yeah. That's great. That's great. Don't get overwhelmed. Keep it simple. Do the foundation work. But
Mhm.
everything else will
Yep.
come out from there. That's great. Beautiful. Thank you, Michelle.
Yes, thank
Yes, thank
you.
you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been delightful. Well, guys, listen to what she said. Go back and listen to this over again. If you need to reach out to her for help, reach out to me. There's lots of ways that you can go with this. But like she said, keep it simple. Okay. Just do the foundation and the rest will be easy. And with that, I'm going to send you off to do some homework. I want you to go take some notes. I want you to do a little journaling, write down what you pulled out of this and what your first thoughts are about what you need to do next. Okay. Think about what your next step is. And If you want to, you can reach out to me and tell me what it is, and I'll hold you accountable because that's what Michelle and I do for each other. Yeah. All right, everybody. Have an awesome week. Have a great week, and I will see you again next week right here on the Ideal Practice Podcast. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.